Everyone, make sure you have your microphone towards the front so everyone can hear you. Okay. It having reached the hour of 8:30, we will commence our Finance Committee and Council Workshop. Today is Wednesday, April the 16th, 2025. City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Committee Member Bavaro.
Here.
Vice Chair Wright.
Here.
Chairperson Escutia Brayton.
Here.
And also present this morning is Mayor Zwallen, Councilmember Ricky, and Councilmember Williams.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again. So as noted on the agenda, public comment is only in person. We do have Zoom availability and as well as wordly translation. If anyone does wish to come and speak during public comment, they are afforded 3 minutes to do so. The speaker cards are available if anyone wishes to do so. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to make a public comment of an item that is not on the agenda? Okay, wonderful. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Clerk, were there any written comments received?
No, Chairperson Escutia Brayton.
Wonderful. Yesterday, we wrapped up the day with an ARPA presentation. So that means we will commence today, beginning with deferred maintenance. Do we have a presentation on the deferred maintenance packet? Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members of committee. I'm Bill Sandu, Public Works Director. And good morning, Mayor and council members also, City Manager. So now I'm ready.
Okay, let's rock and roll.
So deferred maintenance, we kind of pretty much talk every year, and this is this time we're sharing also what's been completed. So this is just for 25-26 fiscal year total. Deferred maintenance amount for public works, and we have other department, utilities and parks. They will also present their part of deferred maintenance. So the first part, like we discussed yesterday, last budget season, and the council approved some funding to do the facilities condition assessment, and that was completed. And the citywide portfolio is about 1.2 million square foot of facilities, or the assets. So you can see with this facilities condition assessment, 129 assets were assessed, and that was about 994,000 square foot of assets that were assessed. And the remaining, as I mentioned, we have total 1.2 million. Remaining were assessed as a separate assessment for utilities, so that was also completed. Before total value of all these assets estimated at $348 million, and the needs 5 years for this assessment is about $57.9 million for 5 years. And what's a condition? Where do we fall? Our facilities fall currently at 35% or 0.35, which is in fair condition. Where we want it to be, it's lesser the number, better it is. More the number, higher the number, it's worse. So our facilities or assets are in fair condition for now. So budget impacts for this assessment to keep at 0.35 or in fair condition. Here are 2026 through 2030 needs, total $57.8 million. As you can see, 26 is about 7 million, and then 27, 6 million, depending upon the depreciation and the needs and type of equipment. And there are 3 scenarios. First is the blue one you see to maintain at current level, 0.35. So that is about $8 million a year needed for next 20 years. So second one, the green color, if we funded 2% of needs annually for next 20 years. So the assets will the condition will get worse. In 20 years, we'll get to about 0.42. And to improve it, current 0.35 to 0.2, which is lower the number embedded is, and that's the need is about $10 million a year. And the next steps for us are pretty much where our staff is working on it and developing some recommendations and developing some other strategies. At some point this year, we'll return back to the City Council with the recommendations. There's a facilities condition assessment accomplishments. I would not go through all of them. This year we brought back what's been also accomplished. So there's a long list because all those employees go out and work every day, 24/7. So I will go over parking accomplishments. So some of there were some of the safety concerns in parking. So we upgraded our both 10th Street and 11th Street to LED lighting, and they're pretty well lit. The garages, both of them. 9th Street is also in process. Also installed camera system on 9th, 10th, and 11th Street garages. There are connected to real-time crime center and mostly monitored. So a lot of improvement in our garages, and also council approved funding to upgrade the parking system. We called it park system, parking access control system. So that is new upgrades to gates and so on. That is currently in fabrication. So we expect to have at least 11th Street completed towards, I would say, in July, end of June or July. 11th Street, then we'll go to 10th and 9th Street. Other accomplishments, just a lot of curb gutter and sidewalk work done. As I mentioned yesterday, we started with over 5,000 work orders the last couple of years, 3 years. We made a lot of progress in that area. We're down to about 3,900 work orders. And also streets, so we're doing really good also. And all of our programs working with Toby's team has working well. As if you can see in mid 2015, 2016, the PCI, which that's the measure of payment condition index, and that was in mid 50s. Now we're in mid 60s, so it came 10 points up in last 8 to 10 years, and so that is a huge improvement to our streets. And we'll go over airport a little bit. Do wanted to go over just one more slide. Okay, and we'll go over airport. Airport is one of the areas that is self-dependent, and we pretty much revenues and expenses balance out. And so a lot of work, ongoing work at the airport. Our hangars are pretty much occupied, and I think we currently have 2 vacancies on some of those hangars, and that's all we have. Otherwise, they're well occupied. Traffic engineering and traffic ops. This is kind of inventory we have, over 12,000 street lights, 89 high voltage lights we had left, but those are all in process of getting converted. So my hope is all of our high voltage lights are converted hopefully by end of next month. So we will be, we'll have all of our lights, most of them on regular voltage traffic signals, and then we have 90 flashing beacons. So this number keeps getting better and improving because we do pay a lot of attention to all of our pedestrian, bicyclist crossings there. Lighted crosswalks, we still have some of them. Traffic signs over 29,000, and Deferred maintenance in street lights. So one of the big thing we have is some of those older green poles, and those were, I think, wrought iron poles, and I think we do have 800 of those. Those are super old, and that is one of our major deferred maintenance there. And otherwise, we also have some wood poles, and then, of course, we get a lot of street light damage. So these green poles, our goal is to have part of our regular operations, replace few of them every year. High voltage conversion, this was ongoing project, and that's hopefully by end of next month, May or early June, it's be all completed. 4 or 5 years ago when we started on this project, Councilmember Canoyer was the champion on that, if you remember it. And the estimate at that time was somewhere between $8 to $10 million, but we promised to chip in like some of it every year, so we're close to 800 lights on high voltage circuits, and believe it or not, in last 5 or 6 years, this has been a huge accomplishment for us to complete high voltage circuits. The last 3 are pretty much done. We're just waiting for some final touches so they can be turned on. So that's been great work by our staff. And signal and ATMS. So there are some needs there, but these are ongoing projects that we have. We budget every year to replace signal poles and upgrade some of them. Yesterday question was why we upgrade some of those functional signal poles. Those are to upgrade to current standards. So this is just ongoing regular maintenance, and most of it is funded by either federal grants, state grants, or Measure L. Traffic signage and striping, and this is another area we made a lot of progress in striping citywide. We went from 4-inch to 6-inch striping. That's a lot more visible, but they're still, given the magnitude of striping, over 1,350 lane miles throughout the city, and traffic signs. So these are just ongoing needs. For the department, most of this work is funded through either gas tax or part of it Measure L also, but mostly from the gas tax. So this is another project to replace some of those 10 lighted crosswalks with beacons. As you can see, some of those crosswalks, I think this one is on Granger. Some of these crosswalks are not that effective like the above ground traffic control system is, flashing beacons. So this is another project that we keep doing on a yearly basis, and some of the funding it comes from Measure L. And any questions? No. Some of the other, so the total, so this is all traffic related, is about $18 million again, as I mentioned. This is ongoing needs, and it comes from either state, federal funds, or gas tax. Street operations, that's inventory. We have approximately about 1378, close to 1,400 of almost everything, sidewalk or lane miles and so on. The funding that is used generally, we use Measure L, gas tax, SB1, state and federal grants, and MOE, garbage franchise fees. The total cost to bring streets to good condition is about $583 million. As I mentioned, our PCI came from 55 to about mid-60s now. Our preference is to get into 70s. That's the PCI. That will get us into good condition. So some of the other needs, it's the wheel ruts that happens on some of the most traveled roads. It's just part of ongoing maintenance. Curb gutter and sidewalks, and this is another area that we mentioned. We started with about over 5,000 work orders. We're down to about 3,900 work orders. So the total need is over $15 million, but I think the current funding is at about $1.7 million a year. So that gets us about 300 to 400 work orders, depending upon the work order, so a year. Sidewalk. So this is also part of what we talked, the work orders, and one of the council approved resolution in 2014 was because things were getting so bad that the offset can be repaired. The one that can't be ground, we grind them first. When we get a call, the first effort is to grind them so that we mitigate the liability or tripping hazard. If it can't be ground, this is the second option we use. And the third option is to just completely replace it. In this case, the replacing involves a lot more. Sometimes you have to remove the tree first and plant the new tree there so that your sidewalk lasts there for a little bit longer. Or other times you can just cut the roots and work it that way. But it's case by case basis. So total deferred maintenance in streets area is about $72 million. We will go to our parking services as their parking, 3 parking garages and 6 surface lots. Then there are 4 off-street pay lots. And parking system overview, you can see a lot of it's used for our workforce, the city and county workforce, and monthly passes, and also public use also the parking. And then there is 9th Street. We have an agreement with the hotel, DoubleTree, and a lot of other discounted parking for businesses throughout the city. Parking needs, just ongoing crack sealing and so on, slurry. Expansion joints when all 3 garages are one of the big things that we need to seal them. And then fence and access door repairs on some of those areas. 10th Street garage stairwell. And some of we get quite a bit. We get a call on that crossing bridge on 9th Street that crosses from 9th Street garage to the hotel. That a lot of vandalism happens there and graffiti happens there. So, but also the parking elevators get vandalized and tagged a lot. So some sort of vandal resistance. Coating there or the infrastructure there. When we talked about upgrades and park system, we talked about that is under fabrication. Council approved the last part of budget some funding to replace the park system, which is the gates and so on, everything that controls it. And then also we keep working on EV charging stations, then prepay and other, a lot of it comes with the park system, at least the prepay and everything. And lighting fixtures, as I mentioned, we upgraded both the 10th and 11th Street garages, and the next one is we're working on 9th Street garage. Painting, ADA upgrades is another need. So that's about parking. Then building services. That's the inventory we have throughout the city that we maintain, and also sport, fire, and PD buildings also. Facilities condition assessment, we discussed this. As we mentioned, it was done by almost all facilities. And I think this number is kind of incorrect. It's 1.2 2 million square foot that we have citywide, and they were all assessed part of these facilities to facility condition analysis. Corporation yard, some ongoing needs. Some of the buildings are getting old, and the roof needs to be replaced. Some of the HVAC systems need to be replaced, and the gutters. Restrooms, like always, like any other building, they need some work also. And then one of the biggest things there is we get vandalized a lot. The courtyard gets vandalized quite a bit, and there is a need to have some sort of security wall or the router and fence around it. And so one of the projects we've been working on is Highway 132. They're going to take some of that right away. So our hope is with that project we can have a little bit more security added infrastructure to the courtyard. ADA, there are some ADA improvements needed for the courtyard. And building services, throughout the building services, you can see provide the funding for necessary Jefferson courtyard and other improvements. Compost facilities, compost facility has some deferred maintenance needs, $5.9 million. If you recall, a few years ago, council established compost improvement fund, and that fund will be used for some of these improvements. And I think there's money in it, so we are working with the consultant on designing some of those facilities. We'll bring that forward to the council. So that's where the funding will come from, compost improvement fund and or state grants at this point. You see a list of improvements, and mostly a lot of it is site improvements and upgrading the equipment to current state standards, which is at some point is a zero emission standard. So, but there's no no 3-phase or 4-phase electricity that's needed to run that equipment there yet. So working on design with the consultant to bring, and then TID, Turlock Irrigation District, that provides electricity to bring that 3-phase or 4-phase, whatever is needed there to have that equipment at that facility. So that's kind of under design process. So those are long-term needs. Landfills, we have currently 3 landfills, 2 of them very active, and one of them every few years we do a little bit of work is on airport landfill. That most of the time it just required cover on it every couple of 3 years. And the Carpenter Road, it's very, very, very active with the state, and had 2 sides, one east, one west. If you recall, we did a project to clean, close east side. And so we finally got that confirmation letter from state that is east side is clean, closed. It can be used for other purposes, for trip or other parks purposes also. And the third landfill, we have the Gear Road, that county and city are both are responsible for it. And so we, ongoing basis, we work with the county on those projects. So these are total needs for public works. And I think we'll go through the presentation, then open it up for questions.
Why don't we do it per department, since each department has quite a bit of information, or would the committee prefer to wait to the entire?
No, I did.
Let's do it per department. Agreed? Okay. Okay, therefore, does the committee have any questions of deferred maintenance as it relates to public works?
A lot of money.
Yeah. I'm ready.
I've got questions.
Okay, so my first question, Bill, thank you for that presentation. That's quite a bit. Every time you refer to a need, I think of my 8-year-old. Every time he makes a request, he says, "Mom, it's a need, not a want." And so when you kept saying, "It's a need, it's a need," I'm like, okay, that's important then. Page 14. You refer to traffic engineering completed the installation of a hawk beacon at 16th and H Street as well as 16th and I Street. I'm unfamiliar with that. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, that actually, we activated it yesterday, so this was funded from Measure L. There was great need because there's this preschool church, and then I think there's a library, there's a farmer's market there. So, and both H and I are, I think H Street is, I Street is 5 lanes there, H is about 3 lanes. So pedestrians were having a really hard time crossing those streets, so the council authorized about $500,000 for Measure L. And this is, so we, given the size of streets, so we, staff analyzed and decided to go with the Hawk system. So this is the first one in the city. Pedestrian crossing. It's most of the time it will stay dark when pedestrian pushes the button, so it will go to yellow mode first. So that means the motorist will give him time to stop.
What goes to yellow mode?
The lights there.
Oh,
So the lights goes to yellow mode, and then after yellow mode, it will go to red. So that means when pedestrians are crossing, so it is mandatory to stop.
the yellow means
Yellow
slow
means-
down, get ready to stop. It doesn't mean
Ready
stop.
to stop or take yield. Yellow
Yield.
is, yeah.
Okay.
So if there's no pedestrian, you can yield. If you feel it's safe, you can yield. But the Hawk system will turn red. That means if you take it, at that point you take it as a signal. If you run the red light together.
So are we going to evaluate how that works, and if it works well, we could apply it appropriately throughout the city?
That is correct. I think Toby's team is working on projects. I think they already are planning for some more. The data shows, nationwide data shows that these are very effective
Okay.
means of.
Very good to know. Thank you very much. On that same page as well, traffic electrical installed 32 traffic detection cameras at 8 intersections. How were those 8 intersections identified? Why did they receive priority?
So those, to just give you a little bigger picture, we do have cameras for, I think, for most of all of our intersections. So those, the way we identify, we take corridor approach. Let's say if there's Brixmore Tully, if we have cameras on Brixmore everywhere else, we, of course, we're gonna pick the intersection, so we get the whole corridor functioning that way. But our goal is to install cameras in next, I would say, towards end of 2025, early 26. We will have detection cameras on all of our intersections.
Okay, thank you. My next question. You spoke about with city landfills, the Carpenter Road landfill mitigation of $1,500,000, provide fencing, gates, access road completion, drainage, and slope protection. This is phase 2. That implies that phase 1 has been completed?
Yes.
And what was the funding source for phase 1?
So phase 1, the funding source is there is I think there is 90 cents per household that goes on garbage bill. to pay towards these carpet. I'm not exactly sure how many cents. I believe it's 90 cents per household. So that's how this project is funded. At that point, council authorized us to get a loan from water fund at certain percent, so that's where we're paying it back on that
Okay,
loan.
so the water fund was the source
Water fund and the garbage piece.
and the garbage?
And the garbage piece. So the water fund is not, it was loaned from water fund, but it's being reimbursed at, I think it was 3 or 4%, whatever the ongoing interest rate was. So that's what the loan was.
Thank you. And my last question has to do with streetlight repairs. Streetlight accident damage was $250,000. Do we seek reimbursement for the cost of the damage from insurances?
That is correct, we
Okay.
do, and it doesn't mean we collect all of it, but we do go through the process and to get that reimbursed for any accident damage that we get to city facilities.
Very good. Thank you.
have a question.
Any further comments from the committee?
I have a-
Yes, Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, Chair. On the curb gutters and sidewalks, how do you prioritize those? Are they prioritized as they come in as a request, or the severity?
It depends upon severity, so our scoring criteria is 1 through 5. The 5 being, I believe 5 being the worst one where you can't repair it. It just needs to be replaced, and given the nature of, so it needs to be replaced. That's one criteria. The other criteria is if there are 20 of them that are number 5, it's first come, first basis. And another thing we use, if the contractor or our city staff is in that neighborhood repairing one work order, let's say on Tully Road, we're gonna try to get the whole block so that when we get out, we do the complete.
You have all the
project.
equipment there, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the committee? Any questions from the council?
Yes.
Yes, Councilmember Ricky, then Councilmember Williams, and then
Thank you.
Mayor. Do you have, and then Mayor.
So can you go back to there's a slide where you said the deferred maintenance budget's $10 million?
What area was it?
There's
At the very beginning of the,
So the facilities condition analysis, this.
Yeah, it was in that, yeah.
That's one, Scotty.
I think, go one more slide forward. Keep going. Yeah, this one.
This one.
Yeah. Can you review this a little more? 3 funding scenarios. It's confusing to me. Are you saying that we haven't decided how we're funding this stuff, but it's in the budget? I'm confused as to how.
So to give a little bit more information on these scenarios, so 3 scenarios. The current one is 0.35 or 0.33, which is fair condition. So for us to keep it in fair condition for next 20 years, the city need to spend $8 million a year.
Gotcha.
So the
So
second scenario-
This is just a forecasting tool that you're using? So this
That
isn't
is-
actually the budget?
It is forecasting tool. It's assessment tool, that's this facility condition and assessment.
Okay, and then the actual budget will come to council in individual items?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay, great. That answers that. In terms of the parking sections of this, we've got the courthouse coming, and yeah, that's perfect. Nice, Scotty. Perfect slide. I'm concerned that with the courthouse coming, that we're not gonna have the inventory that we need to service that. We know that the state has, in their infinite wisdom, consolidated 7 courts in Stanislaus County all to this court. And then they didn't make any plans for parking. And it sounds like the city hasn't done anything about it either. So I'm confused that, I'm confused that we don't, in terms of parking inventory, I'm not sure that we have enough, and I'm not sure that we've kept that in mind in terms of like the health of our inventory. And In terms of maintaining inventory, I'm not sure that we're able to do that.
So a couple of things. Courthouse is one of them. Thank you for asking the question. The other unknown is Ace Train also. When Ace Train comes, that means we do have a lot of capacity in 9th Street garage. So that's a good news for that part. But when we're upgrading infrastructure, so we'll have better flow in our parking garages also. But the third factor is it's going to be important for us to manage on-street parking also. So that we currently don't have any plans to expand the parking system, but the management of the parking system is going to be the key.
Well, the question is like, do we need to, there's, for example, across the street from the courthouse, there are at least 2 giant flat lot opportunities. One's a car dealership right now, the other's like a truck school. What are the possibilities of the city looking at those lots to try to actually address this problem?
We can definitely explore those options and come back to council.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Councilmember Berkey?
I have one more question. On the compost improvement fund, where does that money come from?
That money was implemented as part of when we did the garbage rate study, so it was part of that study. It's coming from garbage rates.
So the money comes from the garbage income?
Garbage rate, that's correct. But it was part of that because it's a diversion, AB 939 diversion. And because you're diverting all those green waste and food waste to compost, it's not going to landfill. So that was implemented as part of that.
So it's not general fund money?
It's not general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Bill, for your presentation. One of the questions is on the severity that Councilmember Wright brought up in between, on I Street, in between 16th and the alley, when those trees fell, which was good to be able to work on that as well as the new pedestrian lighting. Was that the area that you were referring to?
Hawk system that went into that system, that area.
So that sidewalk on the side of the church was because of the trees falling and then also the coordination of the signal lights for pedestrian?
That is correct. That's a great question, Councilmember. And that's complete project, we call it. We installed the Hawk system at the 2 crossings to make it safe pedestrian crossing. And also those trees that were liability, some of them actually the storm damage, some of them we have to remove. Then we repaired sidewalk and complete AD ramps also. So that's those 2-3 blocks got a complete job there.
Perfect. And then also, and I probably should know this, but how many total parking slots do we have in the 3 garages?
Well, that's we will report back. I don't have exact number, but we can get back to you.
No problem. And then following that, is it normally full? What's the percentage? And you can get back to me on that. It's not like you have to answer that today. But thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mayor.
My question, do you have a total dollar amount of deferred maintenance for Public Works?
It's Scotty, if you can pull up first slide. So we have
Okay, that was it.
$82 million.
Okay, thank you. Do we have security at the courtyard and other buildings and patrol, like any patrol or cameras or a robust security system? You mentioned numerous times that there's unwanted activity.
So we recently installed some cameras at the courtyard, but I wouldn't say we have robust, but we keep working at it.
Okay.
We installed the gate, and the gate is locked at night also. But what I was referring to, we have chain link fence, which is easy to cut or drive through. People just
Sure. And all of our other buildings also, it sounds like there's some issues with graffiti. You mentioned several times with the buildings that there is. So I didn't know, is that, and the cameras, are they connected to the real-time crime center or?
So we just recently installed one at the
Okay.
courtyard that
Okay.
is connected to real-time
Okay,
crime
great.
center.
Great. Sounds like that's something that maybe, I don't know if that's included in this at all, probably not, as far as deferred maintenance, but maybe another budget item. Next question is, how do you prioritize these needs?
So this facilities condition analysis gave us some criteria and gave us what the needs are. So based upon facility condition analysis, and there is a team, that citywide team TAG that works on it, prioritizing that. So we're developing the criteria as we,
Okay.
for now, we're in that phase, developing the criteria to prioritize everything.
All right. Public safety, I would imagine being number one, safety. Regarding the parking issues that we anticipate, do we work closely with Stan RTA for the potential with, as was mentioned with the courthouse, with the ACE train, that public transportation could play a role in potentially offering shuttles or other ways so that maybe residents wouldn't need to bring cars to the area, that there would be public transportation options?
Public transit always plays a role in solving some of these transportation issues, and they have a lot of routes. I think that we're open to discussions with them when courthouse opens, if they have any plans for new routes.
All right, great. Regarding the Hawk system at 16th and H, Councilmember Scudia Brayton asked a little bit about that, but I have to say there is a person that emailed me multiple times, sent pictures, put little children in the crosswalk there to slow traffic down. She was very engaged in highlighting the need for those lights at those streets and persisted. And I believe that, you know, she made a huge impact in making that happen. And you sent me an explanation of the Hawk system. I had to read it several times to really understand it. I'm not sure if the entire council got that or not, but it was really, really helpful for me to see that. So I appreciate you sending that, and so I was able to understand how it works. It took me a little while, but it seems like it'll be very user-friendly for drivers.
I went out there yesterday, watched for a few minutes. I think so far it worked, and the true test will be tomorrow when there's farmer's market there tomorrow.
Right, I'm
So-
glad, okay, tomorrow morning I will. I've driven by there numerous times when she emailed me to watch with the situation she was describing, and so now I know that it's up and functioning. I'm going to observe that. I have a grandson that's in 6th grade, and he studies traffic lighting systems throughout the United States of America. So I think that he will really enjoy that we have the Hawk system going here.
Thank you.
So I'll check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for your questions and comments. Any further questions from the council or committee? Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bill, on the airport, I know perhaps there's going to, I don't know when it's going to happen, but there's going to be a new tower. Do you sense that we're going to be on the hook for some expenses? And is that a part of your budgeting because it's coming up pretty soon?
So the tower project is a federally funded project. So they're in design phase. They keep progressing, even though there have been some federal level budget cuts. But that's still moving forward, and there will not be a whole lot of expense to the city because it's completely funded with the federal funds.
Perfect. Just checking. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, at this point, I will open it up to the public. If there's anyone in the public that wishes to come forth and ask a question or make a comment on this agenda item, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close public comment. Thank you, Bill, for your presentation. Bring it back to the committee. Are there any final comments? Council, any final comments? Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Next, we have Parks and Recreation and Neighborhoods.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jeremy Rogers, Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhoods. I'm here to talk about Parks, Recreation, Neighborhoods deferred maintenance. Before we get into deferred maintenance, I want to talk about some of the things that we've already accomplished and that we were able to accomplish over the last couple of years. Toby did highlight a bunch of these yesterday, so I won't go through each and every one of them, but you can see there's a whole list of things we did, such as tennis court resurfacing on 15 courts. We installed new park signs at 9 parks. And then the second to bottom one I want to highlight is the playgrounds that we replaced at 6 parks. We replaced our 6 oldest playgrounds, and I don't know if you've been to see those new playgrounds, but they're very, very heavily used, and this is a great example of the impact that this will have on our community. Continuing on, in historical properties, we were able to upgrade the elevator at the mansion and then put a fresh coat of paint within the interior of the museum. It looks and feels so much better. At the senior center, we replaced the vault door. We are currently doing that as well as replacing the ice machine. And then at the Boy Scout clubhouse, we upgraded the interior lighting. At the golf courses, we upgraded the men's and women's clubhouse at Creekside, the restrooms at Creekside Golf Course. We installed bottle fill stations and then repaired the restroom that's on the course at Dryden. At Modesto Center Plaza, we did some updates or upgrades to the roof. It was leaking, and we were able to make those upgrades to stop that leak. At the Maddox Youth Center, in conjunction with the project that's going on at Cesar Chavez Park, we were able to not gut the entire interior, but tear carpet out, tear a few walls down, and just make that much more user-friendly and more aesthetically pleasing. So, again, our total deferred maintenance for the entire department, you'll see the slide again, but before I get into it, it's just under $125 million. First, we'll talk about parks. Obviously, we have a very robust park system. I could talk all day about these things that are on this page, but keep in mind that we have 75 parks to serve our entire community. And one thing that we're most proud of is that no matter where you stand within the city of Modesto, you are less than 1 mile from a park. Most communities strive, and that's their long-term goal. We're already there, and that's something that we're very proud of. Here's a map, as you can see, where our parks are. They're spread out, like I said, no matter where you are, you're 1 mile, less than 1 mile from a park. Within our park system, we have about just under $98 million of deferred maintenance. These include restrooms, playgrounds, trees, lighting, and so on and so forth. ADA improvements that still need to be accomplished within our park system is just over $5 million. Turf reduction and irrigation system for a total of about $25 million, and this is one thing that we started to accomplish last year. I spoke in my department presentation on how that's impacted the community. Playgrounds, my favorite thing is we have about $10 million in deferred maintenance on our playgrounds. We have just like Bill talked about in Public Works, they have a scoring system and a criteria, and as we just cross them off as we replace them. Our play courts, we have numerous throughout our park system, is about $2.5 million of repairs that are needed. Restrooms are something that we are taking a very close look at and are currently replacing restrooms as we speak. Lighting, in order to allow more individuals to get on our fields for a longer period of time, is just about $20 million. Shade and picnic pavilions, something that we're always trying to provide more of, for just over $1 million. Walkways serve an important part to a community and how people get from point A to point B. And within our park system, we have about $3.5 million in deferred maintenance. Trees, we spoke to this at length in the presentation. Earlier, it came up in a few different presentations, but within the park system, we have about $2.8 million. And Toby talked about this yesterday, that once that is completed, once we are caught up, we'll turn that over to Public Works and the Forestry Division, and they will make sure that we're staying on top of that. Parking lots are deteriorating. Those do not last forever, so we have quite a few in our system for about $4.2 million. When you go to a park and you sit on a bench or a picnic table, you take it for granted, and that's just something that's there. We have numerous benches, tables, barbecue grills, all kinds of park amenities that we need to update. And our park signs. One thing that, as a new director, one of my goal was to, as we replace signs, they're all going to be uniform. Currently, we have about 5 different park signs throughout our park system. I want it uniform. I want us to all look the same. Okay, let's talk about facilities. Within our community centers, at those 5 listed below, there's about $5 million. In our rental facilities, that's a Boy Scout clubhouse, as well as the McClure Caretaker's Cottage. That's currently being rented out. And then the historical properties, there's some upgrades that we need to do there. Modesto Center Plaza has about 3.6 in deferred maintenance. A lot of that is to the HVAC system there, as well as other issues with an aging facility like that. At John Thurman Field, it's about $1.2 million. Currently, as we went through the whole rubric with the MLB, that was a whole different system, so don't confuse that to what this is. This is just to upgrade the facility to ADA standards, as well as just making it, for example, a parking lot, and then more shade, things like that. Within our golf system, at Dryden, we have about 4.8, and Creekside just over 3 million, and this does not include the clubhouse that I spoke about and Toby spoke about yesterday. ADA upgrades are to the tune of about 2.7, and that's just throughout our entire park system, our facilities, almost.
Civic Center. Does that include bringing everything up to date? I thought it was more like around 15 million.
That would, that 3 million that I mentioned, that would repair those are the most pressing needs. Yes, we could do much more, but that's just to fix what needs to be fixed immediately.
But if we were bringing it up to the standard that we want, you know, like new carpets and painting. Do we know what that dollar amount is?
Closer to 30 million.
$30 million?
Yeah.
For the Center Plaza?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just one more question on the center. What is our debt service a year? Is that $1 million?
No, our debt service has been retired on Center Plaza.
I meant operating,
Our subsidy is is north of $1 million.
north of $1 million and $30 million to, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, Chair. Going back to the Central Plaza, or staying on that subject, so City of Modesto has about 10% ownership in the Central Plaza. So does these maintenance costs, are they funneled through the other ownerships that own the plaza also? I think the city schools own 49, almost 50% of the plaza. So do they get billed out for some of these maintenance costs? And the city manager might have to answer that one.
Nope, the City of Modesto has absorbed these costs all of these years.
So if I owned a piece of property, only owned 10% of it, but I was managing it and there was work to be done, I would think my other partners would have to pony up their share in order for, and is there a reason why we don't bill out like that?
It's just complicated. I mean, I know that's a tough answer, but because of the RDA and the oversight committee, and it's the city's asset to run and maintain. And so there's a complicated agreements between us and the taxing entities. I'm looking at you, Steve. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I right so far?
Kind of. So
I'll let you answer because you're more of an expert.
So with the Center Plaza, it is a city-owned asset through the redevelopment agency. So the former redevelopment agency, which is now the RDA successor agency, owns the asset through the city. So the taxing entities that you're speaking of, like the school districts and the assessment districts, they don't really own any stake in that. It's when we start to look at selling off the asset. Because of the way the state made the law in place when they dissolved all of the RDAs, that's where that comes into play. So they don't really have any stake in the Center Plaza, the operations, or the owning of the asset until we go to sell that asset. Then any proceeds of the sale get distributed amongst the taxing entities.
Okay, and so does any occurring costs that we've incurred would go against the profit of the sale to be paid back? Is that something we've looked into, or do we not know, or might be something you might want to look into?
Well, that's part of what we're going to do as we're looking at what we're actually going to do with the facility. And then to kind of, the other side of your point here, though, is any revenue we would have received, like had we made revenue on Center Plaza, that wouldn't have been shared with the taxing entities. We would have kept it. So
But we haven't. We've been upside down.
We're not going to debate why or why not. That hasn't happened, but it would have gone the other way too. So, but as it comes to, and obviously we have some decisions to make with respect to where a potential soccer stadium may go and how that plays in with Center Plaza, and then what are we actually going to do? And I will note that part of this budget only has expenditures through the end of this year to keep the lights on in Center Plaza.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Chair.
Any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, does the council have any questions? Okay, Councilmember Ricky, then Councilmember Williams.
I just want to make sure that, in this case of Center Plaza, that we're not actually going to invest $4 million next year, because it seems like, or this coming year, because it seems like there's a very good chance that we're not going to be operating in Center Plaza any longer.
No, there is no funds set aside in this budget to address any of the deferred maintenance in Center Plaza. The only money set aside for parks is $500,000. We're adding $500,000 this year for deferred and preventative maintenance, knowing that we still have money left over from prior year budgets to address some of the deferred maintenance needs in the parks. So there's no additional monies set aside for deferred maintenance in Center Plaza. I will also note, just to kind of finish my earlier point, We are going to have to be making some decisions about Center Plaza, whether there's a soccer stadium there or not. We will be addressing this with the council on the future of Center Plaza.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ricky. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As far as, Jeremy, as far as the park benches and the signs, which are all wood, and then, of course, some of the shade structures, have we looked into, or are we going to be looking into a different type of material that will last a little longer?
So when we do replace something, we don't use wood at all. In our
Not that I
park.
don't like wood, I'm just saying.
It's beautiful, doesn't work in a park setting. So like our park signs are concrete, they're solid concrete. Our park benches are the powder coated, and then the picnic tables are concrete as well.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions from the committee or council, at this point, I will open it up for public comment. If there's anyone in the public wishing to step forward on this agenda item, please do so. Seeing none, I'll close public comment, bring it back for final comments from either council or committee. Seeing none.
I'll make one comment.
Yes,
I
Mayor.
love the concrete signs that I've seen throughout the city. I think they're stately, they're beautiful. Seems like they will last for a very long time. So I appreciate that signage. And they're exactly standard
Yes.
throughout now. All the new ones are the ones that I've seen, they're all going to be standard like that.
Right, the nine
Okay.
that we replaced, they're one standard. All going forward, they will all be the same as
Okay.
those 9.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for the city manager. When will the discussion of options with the Civic Center come before council in closed session, I assume?
Yeah, well, so, yes, but also just to note that the next council workshop on the soccer stadium is June 25th, and that kind of predicates the conversation on where we're going with Center Plaza. But it's a property acquisition, or that can be discussed in closed session. Depends on what happens with the workshop. That'll direct that further conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy, very much.
Thank you.
Next we have utilities presented by Will Wong, and that will be our final presentation on deferred maintenance. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Scudia Brayton. Good morning, Finance Committee, Mayor, Councilmember Ricky, and Councilmember Williams. I'm Will Wong, Director of Utilities. So aside from all the piping that we have underground and our ancillary facilities throughout the city, Utilities does have 9 buildings that have deferred maintenance. These buildings range from 5 years to over 50 years old. So some of the accomplishments that we've accomplished this past year all have to do surrounding HVAC. So we have upgraded the HVAC systems through our laboratory and our Sutter, some of the Sutter buildings, as well as some HVAC systems at our remote site at Jennings. So overall, over the next 5 years, the city utilities department does see about $4.6 million in deferred maintenance in its facilities. At the primary Sutter facility, we're looking at about 4.3 of the 4.6, and those are focused around the Sutter building, the Sutter buildings. The Sutter buildings are vary in age from 15 to 50 years old. So these are the older facilities that we have. So we do have quite a bit of deferred maintenance. And this was done in partnership with Public Works as part of our pilot program for the facility condition assessment. So you can see we have about $3 million for our main building. Maintenance shop is about $500,000 and about almost $1 million for our collections. These range from roof replacements, exterior improvements, and such. So over the next couple of years, we're looking at upgrading the flooring, doing some ceiling and wall exterior finishes to protect our assets out there. And then the following year, we're looking at roof replacement and also upgrading our security system over at Sutter. Moving forward to our Jennings facility, these are ranging from anywhere from 50 to about 20 years old. So we do have about $157,000 from $160,000 worth of building improvements, ranging from our blower building upgrades to some minor admin upgrades to the administration building and the UV building, as well as the aeration building. So next couple of years, we do have some fire panel replacement, as well as some roof replacement items that we're going to need to do over at Jennings. And as you recall, Jennings is at a remote site, and it's subject to a lot of wear and tear from the environment. At the Water Division, a little better news, because they're newer facilities, we have zero deferred maintenance. So because they're brand new, they did open up in 2020, so we have zero there. So overall deferred maintenance over the next 5 years, the city's utilities department is looking at about $4.6 million. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the Finance Committee? Yes, Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, Will, for your presentation. And my understanding on the wastewater, basically all the funding for deferred maintenance comes out of the wastewater fund, correct? Not general fund?
That is correct.
Yeah, so none of this has to do with general fund.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any questions from the council? Okay. Thank you, Will. At this point, I will open it up for public comment. If there's anyone in the public wishing to make a comment or question at this time. Seeing none, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the committee for any final comments.
Yeah, my final comment would be thank you, staff, for all your report. I know that we have a lot of challenges out there for the next 5-10 years on deferred maintenance, but I'm confident with the leadership of our city manager and your departments. This will be taken care of also because of Measure H. So thank God we have Measure H.
Amen.
Okay, given no more comments, that will conclude that portion, and we will move forward to community and special events, partner co-sponsorships, and grants. Since our presenter is not here, why don't we go ahead and take a few-minute break, and we will resume shortly. Thank you.
And important to note that will be changing. So my recommendation and what I'm proposing is to take Administrative Directive 3.6 and make two different directives out of it. The first one is the city sponsors events and program co-sponsorships. And then the second one is community and special event grants, and I will go through each one of those. First, the co-sponsorships. These are our long-standing partners, events. They're very heavily, the city is very heavily involved in these programs. Contributions over 5,000 still require council approval. But one thing that we want to change is we hold those partners accountable to do a post-event recap. We want to see receipts, things like that. The value of these events for the upcoming fiscal year, we're guessing is somewhere around just over 300,000. Now, here's a list of the top 20 events. These are things that if these organizations weren't doing, the city would probably have to find a way to accomplish these. So these are our partners. These are very important to our community. They create community strength. They provide a better quality of life for all of us. And so I'm not going to read each one of them. I'll just highlight some of the larger ones. The 4th of July Parade, Mo-Band concerts in the parks, Love Modesto, the Graffiti Parade, and then here's the next 11 through 20, the Sister Cities program, Music in the Plaza, Rec Fest, things like that. So these are the 20 partners that we partner with and that we co-sponsor, the city co-sponsors. Again, these are very, very important to our community, and we value these 20 programs and events. The second one, and I'll speak to, is the community and special events grants. So since the AD 3.6 in 22-23, the city has co-sponsored a total of 32 events programs. The total for that is $47,000 of in-kind support, as well as just over $68,000 of cash contributions. These events are very cumbersome. It's very heavy lifting for staff. It's a lot of cross-department work. We work together with PD, CED, Public Works. It takes a lot to put on these events. Under the new policy, the contributions of in-kind support and funds for the special events, they have to benefit the community. They have to occur on city-owned property. This is what I'm recommending. They have to be at least on city property or city street, or where the city is not a primary partner. We are proposing that we receive applications twice a year, so that helps streamline the process, that we can evaluate all the applications that we get and we can compare. We don't want competing interests. The annual funding may vary based on the city's budget and what we feel that we can do. One thing that I am suggesting is awarded funding not to exceed 50% of the event budget. Currently, we get requests to support 65, 75, even 100% of their entire budget. So I'm proposing that we support no more than 50%. Just because you did an event in the past doesn't guarantee you're going to do an event in the future. That will all be evaluated and scored, and when deciding if we give money or in-kind services to these groups. And again, this is all subject to city council approval. The goals and objectives of this grant program is to award funds or in-kind services that promotes Modesto as a desirable place to live, visit, and do business, promotes Modesto as a destination, and enhances tourism, enhances the quality of life and well-being for everyone that works, plays, and visits Modesto, and then advances the city commitment to and pride in being a multicultural city. The thresholds that I'm proposing are for in-kind support of $1,000 to $5,000, as well as monetary contributions of $1,000 to $5,000, limiting that to a total of no more than $10,000 total support, and then limit 2 events per organization per year. We're starting to get requests for organizations to do 5, 6 events and asking the city to foot the bill for that. So I'm proposing putting a limit on that. So the upcoming, what we're looking at and what we've talked about in the talking to our partners and the groups that we anticipate applying for this, for a grant. We're expecting up to around 20 applications this next fiscal year, and somewhere around 50,000 of in-kind and 50,000 of financial support. Also, finally, to finish my presentation, I am seeking potential direction and bringing this to the committee of requests that we've already received. In February at the budget workshop, if you remember, the Modesto Garden Club, they came and requested $25,000 for operations in the first year, and then $10,000 each year going forward for the next 5 years. They then followed up with an email request, official letter requesting that the city support this. And then the second one is the Gallo Center for the Arts. They are seeking $25,000 of co-sponsorship for their Family Fun Day. This was previously supported through ARPA. Now they're requesting that the city supports that event. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you for that presentation, Jeremy. Does the committee have any questions? Councilmember Wright.
So this last presentation you did on the direction, potential direction. So down below there, so, after the Gallo Center for the Arts, participants include Graffiti US Museum, the Children's Museum. Are all of those requesting $25,000 apiece, or?
No, just the Gallo Center is requesting this. That is their part. Those listed below are the partners that they partner with to promote or to have this event.
Okay, I see what you're saying. And then also too, on the new funding source, is this new, or are we stepping back on what we used to fund these events?
I'll answer that question. So, pre-Measure H, we didn't have money to basically support many activities outside of the within the community because we were barely getting by with the resources that we had. Since the passage of Measure H, we have seen a significant uptake in requests for sponsorships and activities from various groups across the city. And it's gotten to a point where it's almost unmanageable, and there has to be a line somewhere, right? We can't just sponsor everybody. We can't just give out hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to community events. While I understand that they're important, there has to be criteria, and there has to be more parameters around how the events are conducted and what we are going to sponsor. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish here. We are still looking at we're asking 2 times a year so that we can evaluate, determine what we're going to sponsorship. Also, in the past, we haven't had a lot of accountability for the money that was going out the door. Like, how was the money spent? what was the impact on the community and things of that nature. What this policy does is basically puts our arms around all of that stuff so that we make sure that the dollars are being spent appropriately.
Thank you. And I just, my next comment, I've always mentioned for the last 4 years I've been on the council, is that, we do have some great events. The 4th of July, the graffiti month of June, where we have the parade and everything. And a lot of these events, or almost all of them, are put on by nonprofits. And these are big events that this community is well known for. There is going to come a day when some of these nonprofits, a lot of them have older people, and I probably would be one of the youngest of them in that group, but there's going to come a time when maybe they cannot run these events, especially like the graffiti parade every year in June. And I think it's important that the city has a committee or a department that can come alongside these nonprofits, work with them so that if the day comes that the nonprofit cannot put it on, we can step in and continue the event without really any hiccups. Finding maybe new partners to partner with us on these events, but these are something that really makes our city unique. And if we ever lose a 4th of July parade or a Christmas parade or even a graffiti parade, that would be devastating to the economic part of our community, because it does bring in a lot of money, it does bring in a lot of tourists, and it does put us on the map. So I'm hoping down the road that we can really fine-tune that and have a group of people in the city that work with these nonprofits, so on certain events that we know that no matter what happens, we need to continue to have those events. So that's a comment or something I want to throw out there to you, Jeremy. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wright. Vice Mayor Bavaro.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 11, you say award funding not to exceed 50% of the event budget. Does that include in-kind? Or just monetary?
Monetary.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
I have a lot of questions. Thank you for your presentation. I think it's just very important to support our community partners that really want to beautify the spirit and activities in Modesto. So the fact that we want to support them, both with in-kind and monetary services, is wonderful. But as was so noted, the checkbook can only go so far. So to that end, the 20 partners and event programs that we've supported to date, will they be required to complete this new application and follow this new process moving forward, just as all new potential partners will be required to do so?
No, they will not walk through the same, because many of these events are city-led, or the city's right next to those partners leading that event. So we're already in the trenches with them, so they won't be. One thing that will change is on those 20 events, we will ask for some kind of a post-event reconciliation or some, not an audit, but we want to see what exactly they're bringing to the city and the impact that event had on the city.
Some might argue that there is disparity in treating both community entities differently. There might be some thought of, even though they have been longstanding partners with the city, to have them abide by the new policy, just so that everyone is evaluated on an equal playing field. It's a thought. What will this new application look like? Do we have a draft of it? I don't want to get into the weeds, but is it, number one, where will it be housed? Will it be on our website under Parks and Recreation? And it's something that they'll be able to complete online?
Yes, and then they'll be able to complete it online, but we will also walk through them because a lot of these events require other permits. If these events, if they want to have alcohol, we have to walk them through the process of what that looks like and then work with PD of what that, what all they have to do to get permits that are outside of the city purview. Did that
Okay.
answer your question?
It will be housed on the website. Okay. And remind me again, what is the scale of funding being considered for these new partners for an event between what and what?
What's that? I'm sorry. Could you
What's the
repeat?
scale of the funding support that potentially we could offer to them?
So looking over past what we've supported in the past and looking and talking with those individuals that have came to us to request money, I'm guessing somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000. That's currently on the books for the fiscal year that we're currently in. We will support, and that's in cash and monetary donation. That's just over $30,000.
Are you saying we will set aside between $30,000 and $50,000 to dedicate for this? Or my question was, if someone wishes to step forward to the city and say, hey, would you help me with this event? And that event costs $5,000 versus another event might cost $500, another event, as you presented with the two here, $25,000. So we wouldn't consider an event that costs $150,000, right?
No, it would have to fall within the maximum donation per event.
And what is that maximum donation?
5,000 in kind, 5,000 monetary.
So that being said, where does the two that you presented with the Gallo and the Modesto Garden Club, those are 25,000?
Right, so these are anomalies that I'm bringing to the committee to consider.
These fall outside of what the policy that we're trying to create is, and we're seeking direction from the council on whether or not you want us to include those in the budget this year. They are not included currently.
Okay. I would like to see a proposed process for how these anomalies are handled in terms of answering all the questions that we're posing to our community partners already.
Yeah, they'll be brought to council for approval.
I see.
Anything outside the policy will need council approval.
Okay, so this is just the Modesto Garden Club and Gallo Center is just heads up. Those will be more thoroughly vetted and presented to us at a later council
No,
meeting?
We are seeking direction on whether or not the finance committee wants us to include them in the fiscal year 25-26 budget.
Okay, I for one would love more information and would not be prepared to provide an answer to that at this time. But yeah. Okay, so let me continue with my questions. If approved today, this new process, when will this whole new process take effect?
So we'd roll it out at the fiscal year, July 1. We are already receiving applications or interest in events after July 1, and we're telling those individuals we're looking at the process. Currently, here's the application, fill out the application, and then if this does get adopted, we will walk them through the policies and that procedure.
Okay, and the application process, once the community partner submits the application and say it moves through the process and is approved, and a list is accumulated, will that partner be required to renew their application yearly? Or will it just transfer over year to year, such as our previous partners?
They will have to do an application every year. If we deem that it is a co-sponsored event, that will move to the list that is currently at 20.
So co-sponsored events are not reviewed yearly, they're just carried over. Non-co-sponsored events would be required to submit an application yearly.
Correct.
We're seeking your approval now on these co-sponsor events. Like, that's why we're showing this presentation. these activities are in our budget. If we want to remove any of them, then we can. It's just, that's why we're bringing this to your attention.
The reason why I think the Modesto Garden Club and the Gallo Center for Arts are obviously very honorable groups in our community and contribute immensely to the city of Modesto. My pause is there's other organizations that have equal merit, and we're not evaluating them collectively. This is just an isolated, here you go, let's approve it, rather than, as you propose, let's review them twice a year so we could, big picture, see our annual budget and how we could best support our community partners. And we don't have that opportunity just when two are presented to us.
Well, these are the two that we know currently, and these are anomaly type requests that we've received that we're just seeking direction on. It's totally up to this committee's discretion of whether or not they want to, because it's not budget. These two
Right,
are
I
not
understand
currently
that.
budgeted. If you guys decide that you guys want us to do it, we will add it into the budget, make the appropriate adjustments to continue to have a balanced budget. So these two requests are, in my opinion, an anomaly that we're just seeking direction.
I'm wondering if the committee would entertain seeking events that are brought forth twice a year, as is being proposed for the other type of groups for anomalies, or do we take them on a case-by-case basis?
So, thank you, Chair. My question is, did these two events request these funds? Or are these funds that we've given to them in the past, which is automatically?
We've received written requests from both of them.
Okay.
And only the Gallo Center Family Fun Day was previously funded through ARPA allocations.
Okay. Yeah, I would be in favor of going ahead and approving these two events, and then if there's other requests down the road, it can come back to council.
If there's any funding left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because we do have, you know, Children's Museum, we have the Prospect Theater, you have the Graffiti Museum. These are important items. However, I think Gallo Center for the Arts is probably the #1 in the city of Modesto. And when that was built, the city of Modesto really took a back seat in supporting that because of budget issues. And I think it's time for us to continue to come forward to really be a good partner with the Gallo Center for the Arts.
Thank you, Councilmember Wright. Vice Mayor Bavaro? Okay. Any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, any questions from the council?
Sorry.
Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A point of correction on number 2 and number 8 on your partners' events and programs 1 through 10. The Modesto Kiwanis Club has been around for 100 years, and the North Modesto Club has been around for 62 years. So the 4th of July parade is done by the Modesto Kiwanis Club, and so this way it doesn't look like money is going to only the North Modesto Club. It's actually going to Modesto Club, and then North Modesto Kiwanis Club. So that's a point. Also, with that, the Modesto Kiwanis Club and the North Modesto Kiwanis Club would not be able to do any of those two events without the in-kind support of the city of Modesto. And as far as the comments by Councilmember Wright, these particular events will go strong for a very, very long time with its members. The North Modesto Kiwanis Club has 98 members, and then the Modesto Kiwanis Club has 34 members. So we will continue only if the city of Modesto is able to do what they're doing with the in-kind donations, because it would be impossible. And then also to match even the 50% criteria, we raise more than what the in-kind is given for the expenses of the parade, and then also that's the 4th of July parade, and then the the car club or car show and parade, North Modesto Kiwanis endeavor, we work to raise $300,000 and give back to the City of Modesto, 25 different nonprofits, $150,000, which is dollars and not in kind, but dollars back to our community. So thank you very much to the City of Modesto for helping us get to this point, but it's the opposite. Without the City of Modesto's in-kind sponsorship, it would be literally impossible to do those. And as far as the Gallo Center for the Arts, their activity that they had last year through the ARPA fund was $25,000. It was an outdoor experience. I was there both years, as well as the mayor, and they actually have a free show that day for the entire public. It's also a lot of vendors and a lot of games and a lot of interactive opportunities for the young people that come out. And I believe they had about 6,000 come through that particular day. Very well attended, very well needed, and it gives the opportunity for people to actually go into the Gallo Center who has never been in the Gallo Center at all, onto the Garden Club. They, for many years, they celebrated 100 years already in the City of Modesto, and the City of Modesto has, to my knowledge, never given a nickel to what they have been able to do on flower pots. We've had some in-kind help with watering some of the pots throughout the downtown area. Those are the pots that are on the ground. Those are the pots that are hanging throughout the entire City of Modesto, mainly downtown. And I think it's wonderful that they have been doing that, and they've been doing that on their own. However, seeing the opportunity for the City of Modesto to be able to contribute to that would be outstanding. So those are my comments, pretty much those are my comments. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Not Madam President, sorry. I'm already in the
That's
Kiwanis
okay.
meeting.
I like your vision.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Yes, what was that page here?
16?
Can you use your microphone, please?
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, I got to get the page here. On the Modesto Garden Club, they're seeking $25,000. Did they present you a budget on how they plan to spend that? Seems kind of high to me.
They did. In their letter, it says, provide security for a fence around the perimeter of the flower clock, sprinkler controls, replant clock face, and adjust the sprinklers. And then in the downtown pots, replace missing soil in 150 pots, upgrade planning for a more diverse look, concrete on core pots on I and J to further beautify the area. And pots must be watered 2 times a week when the temperature. Those are what they have identified in their letter.
Okay. So they're seeking $25,000, so to understand you correctly, are we going to just 50%? Or is this?
They are not subject to the 50%. These are anomalies that they are asking for that set amount.
Okay, thank you.
So 25,000 in operations and then 10,000 every year thereafter for 5 years.
But they will have to come back and request that every year. This will not get approved for the next 6 years. We'll require them to come back and make that request every year because their needs can change, our needs can change, things like that.
So you're asking for approval of what monetary amount today?
$25,000.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the committee?
For both the Garden Club and $25,000 to the Gallo Center.
Correct.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Mayor, please.
All right, on slide 11, it mentioned 2 times per year online intake, review, and approval of applications. So thank you for that description of the applications. I'm curious, when you say 2 times per year, what does that look like? I know there's been always they have to apply like, I don't know, 3 months in advance or something so it can be reviewed. When you say 2 times per year, I'm assuming they'll be reviewed like ongoing so that they would get a response quicker than every 6 months. But clarify that, please.
So currently, we receive applications. I want to do my big event in 2 weeks and things like that. And so in order to streamline the process and make it easier for staff and just create continuity we have an application deadline of April 1st for all events that take place between July 1 and December. Then the next application period would be October for all events that take place in the other months.
Okay, so if somebody has an event in December, they're going to have to apply before April?
Correct.
Yeah, that makes me concerned a bit about, so their timeline then would be required 9 months.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems a little bit difficult potentially for groups to have to apply that far in advance, potentially. These are typically volunteer groups. All right, that answers that question. So there would be no review of these until April, and when was the other?
October.
October. Those would be the only times that these would be reviewed?
That's what that's subject to policy adoption. That's
you're right. That's what's proposed. That, concerns me a little bit because I think it's difficult potentially for groups when they're planning activities to know exactly what's required and how much help they might need that far in advance. Like 3 months seemed like maybe a more reasonable time, but to plan that far out seems like it could be difficult.
Yeah, and obviously, we're going to have to be nimble and flexible at least the first year, maybe the first 2 years, and we will adjust accordingly.
Right.
We have to just see how it works, but again, this is just putting some parameters and guardrails around what we're doing to make sure that we're addressing everybody's needs.
Right. I just know that several times I've met with people that this has been a huge source of contention through the years, that the deadlines and things were adapted and nimble and flexible, but this seems like it might be even more difficult than the way it was previously. So that just is something I'm concerned about. And then, so a limit of 2 events per fiscal year per applicant, but may not exceed $10,000 in total support.
Per event.
Per event. So the 20 that are already obviously way exceed that. And then my question was with North Modesto Kiwanis, there was 3 activities, but that was clarified that it's just 2 with North Modesto Kiwanis and 1 with Modesto Kiwanis. So the ones, I'm clarifying that the 20 that are already listed will not be required to abide by these new guidelines.
They're in a whole separate administrative directive. So I'm dividing the 1 administrative directive into 2. You have your 20 that are current co-sponsors, and then the other one that are the grants, where the city issues money or in-kind services.
Okay, can you repeat that again?
Okay, so there's 2 different directives that I'm proposing. One is our co-sponsored events. Those are that 20, that group. They aren't subject to the same requirements of the grants.
That's because
All right.
we're co-sponsoring.
Right.
Then the future potential grant applications. All right. Then regarding the Gallo activity, I've also, as was mentioned, participated in that. There's thousands of people. It's really a great activity that people have mentioned even on the streets, that they were able to bring their families and their children, and they've never been there before, and they really enjoyed that opportunity to be able to participate in that. Modesto Garden Club, do we water the pots twice a week? Does the city? do that?
Our park operations staff do that.
Okay, so that was mentioned as part of their request in their letter, but that's something that we do.
We do as well as they do. We have a list that we water, they have a list that they water.
Right, but they do all the planting. I've seen them
Correct, yeah.
out there, yeah, volunteers do all the planting and, okay. Those are my questions. That's it for questions for me.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Ricky.
Thank you. Can you go back to the very first slide in this section? Okay, the next one. There you go. I think my biggest concern here is just the posture of the city on these events. Like, these small events are like what defines the culture of our city. And instead of looking at it as like a pain in the butt, like, we should be looking at this as stuff we should be nourishing, stuff we should be supporting, stuff we should be excited about helping. But instead we look at it like it's a hassle, they don't know what they're doing, we have to help them. I just find the whole way that we are approaching this particular problem is backwards. And I also think that it's backwards that all of our support is essentially tied into the established events as opposed to trying to nourish and grow new events. And so I think that this whole proposal from the city should just be thrown out and you should start over. Cultural events should be a priority. We should have people on our staff that can help these people and make these things happen. And we should be creating a friendly support environment for events. And I know how hard it is to work with the city because I used to be in the event business, but I hear from these people that, and like, Jeremy, because we've dealt with it on these like car shows and stuff. Like, the city does not make it an easy process. It's very difficult. And it's a two-way street on that. It's because because these people don't know what they're doing because they've never done it before. We can't blame them for that. It's just a fact, right? But what they're bringing to the city is incredibly valuable, And I'm just concerned about the city's always had a lean towards the established events. We talk about Kiwanis. We're going to be limiting, these other people to 10K all in or whatever. But we're giving Kiwanis, what, 100,000, Jeremiah? Something like that?
In kind.
Exactly.
Not dollars.
It's still money, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, graffiti is critical to I'm not saying it's bad, but like, it's critical to our community. It defines our community. So do these other events, And so when I get an event that's coming like, a resident comes to me like, I'm doing this event in 2 months, can I get city help? And I have to say, like, no, you had to apply 4 months ago. It's absurd, In terms of, so I think it's weird that this is coming to us in budgets, and especially because it's been so contentious and for so long we've been trying to do something about it. It's weird that it comes here. I think that we need to rework it and start over. And then as far as Garden Club and Gallo Center goes, Garden Club, their contribution to this community is unquestioned. They, everywhere they go, our community looks better, and that's so important. It builds community pride, and these are just good people doing good community work for Modesto. The clock is wonderful. So I support that, and I hope that we can help them achieve their goals, because it's got to be frustrating to plant the clock and then have vandals come and ruin it 3-4 times a year. It's just awful. Then in terms of the Gallo Center, my question for the Gallo Center is like, do we have an annual contribution we give the Gallo Center?
We have previously given them money through the ARPA program.
Before the ARPA program existed, did we give an annual contribution to the Gallo Center?
Not to my knowledge, no.
No.
So we've never donated money to the Gallo Center.
Zero.
So it just seems like, I think that's another conversation that we need to have, like, in terms of performing arts. Is that a city priority? Probably is. Should we have a budget to handle that kind of thing? Yeah, but that's just my opinion. They're very important. Gallo Center's health is very important to the entire economic ecosystem we have in downtown Modesto. Without them, we'd lose half our restaurants. So anyway, I think that's something else to think about. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. To some of Councilmember Ricky's points, had we not had the financial workshops today and this being an agenda item, would this subject have been heard on at Safety and Communities Committee?
This comes to the budget workshops because these are budget items, and there's city expenses that are being allocated. And the question is, does the committee and ultimately the council want us to continue with these monetary contributions? And so, while I can understand and appreciate some of Councilmember Ricky's requests or comments, it is without guardrail and without some thoughts of what goes into it, then it's an open checkbook. And I think we've demonstrated that our money is not infinite and it only goes so far, and we have to make real decisions about things that we're going to support or not support.
Thank you. So because this is staff is seeking direction from the Finance Committee on this, this will be a voting item today for the Finance Committee. Okay, so that being said, and seeing no more questions, I will move it to the public for a public comment. If there is anyone in the public wishing to step forward to speak on this agenda item, please do so now. Seeing none, I will close public comment and bring it back to the committee for consideration for I'll bring it up, allow you to make comments, but then after that, for consideration for a motion approving a one-time financial support to the Modesto Garden Club, seeking $25,000 for operation costs and $10,000 each year only upon request for the next 5 years, as well as $25,000 support to the Gallo Center of Arts. So that will be the motion we will be considering. Any final comments from the committee?
Are you going to do both of these separate or both as one? We have a garden club and the...
Do you have a preference?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve $25,000 for the garden club and for the Modesto's Gallo Center.
Okay.
Second.
All right. City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Committee Member Bavaro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Wright,
Aye.
and Chairperson Escudilla-Brayton.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
And I'll just again note that this is direction to add this into the budget. So when we bring the final budget forward to council, you will see this included with the necessary adjustments to add it to the budget.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, then that concludes the Community and Special Events Partner and Co-Sponsorship and Grants presentation. Jeremy, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
At this point,
I
we
don't
will
know.
take...
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes, Mayor.
Did we just approve the process, or what is there direction that's going to be taken for that?
Administrative directives are city manager set policies, so we're informing the council of what those policies are. We've heard the feedback here, and we'll make adjustments accordingly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, the question, Mayor. At this point, we will take a 15-minute break, at which time we will come back and we will have final wrap-up of our workshops. Thank you, everyone. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Final countdown. Stephen, we have a report back, a recap, please.
Yes, so thank you for all of the very good questions that you have all asked during the presentations. They've been very thought-provoking and I think provided a lot of context to the presentations and the information that was provided by the departments. But we did have some questions that we need to report back on, so this presentation will go through those report back items, and it's going to kind of be a cascade of the directors coming through and answering those questions. So I will start it off with the police department and Chief Gillespie.
All right, good morning, Chair and committee members. So the question that we were asked by Councilman Wright is in relation to the efforts of chat, what are the percentages of who can get shelter and who cannot for those that are willing to receive help? I think that was somewhat of the gist of your question. And so while I don't have a percentage, what I do want to provide you with is some statistics for 2024 in what as far as services that have been accepted and refused. I think it paints a little bit of a picture, and I'll add to it a little bit. But if you look at 2024, and this may actually exclude just a teeny bit of data because at the beginning of 2024, we didn't have this exact report the way they were reporting it, but I think it gives you the sense of where we're at. But when you look at emergency shelter, and I think that was part of what your main question was, of services that were accepted by people that chat offered emergency shelter to, and those that refused, you can see a huge disparity in those that are refusing shelter. And so it wasn't when we talk about people getting into shelter, I'll touch on that in a minute, but I think what's important to understand is that only 35%, so when you add those numbers up, 3,491 people, or different times, people were offered emergency shelter, and only 1,218 times was that offer of shelter accepted. So that's a 35% of the time the person accepted shelter, 65% of the time they did not. And so when we also asked them to document, and we have these different weekly reports of the reasons if somebody, there was something that people asked for and we could not provide, they document that. So while I don't have a percentage of those who could get shelter that were willing, what I think is important to understand also is that very rarely when I look through the reports were people not able to get into shelter if they wanted it. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one, we have a very good relationship with the Salvation Army and the shelter there that provides emergency beds anytime for the Modesto Police Department. So if we have somebody who is willing to accept shelter, we have beds available where they say we won't refuse somebody. We'll have a few beds for Modesto PD always to have. So that's important. But the times, on very rare occasion, has the shelter been full over in 2024 to where they didn't have beds available. But what we often did see was services for somebody who had an animal and they wasn't willing to part with that animal, so they refused to go into the shelter, or they had a significant other and they refused to go because they couldn't sleep together or whatever the case may be. So there's different reasons why people would refuse the shelter, but nonetheless, the shelter was available. I think, and then you can see down here of the other things. Obviously, when we start offering other things than emergency shelter, the refusals go way down. So when we have vouchers that we can offer people, because there are people that on occasion get banned from the shelters from different behavior, and then we try to find different avenues for them. So that may be a reason why somebody may not get into shelter. But the vouchers, finding different bridge or temporary housing placements, they were able to place 15 people, 0 refusals, which makes sense, and then permanent housing, 20 different people. Chat was able to help facilitate that to permanent housing. And then the other thing I think that was important, it's not on here, but it's something that we continue to assess and make sure that we're not that we're helping people versus enabling people. But we understand with our chat team, sometimes it takes those constant relationship building before people are willing to accept it. We do track like food services, and I'll tell you in 2024, 1,288 people, and these could be multiple people over and over and over again, accepted some type of food services, whether that was a little bit of food or water or whatnot from our chat team, only 691 refused it. So transportation's 546 people accepted some type of transportation from chat, only 119 refused it. So you can see these ancillary services, people are accepting those, but then when it comes to emergency shelter housing, we have a completely opposite flip of people willing to accept it. So I know I didn't have a percentage, so hopefully that answers some of your questions, but obviously open to answering.
And I think it's important that we let people know in our community that we do have, if somebody wants a bed that night, we can get them a bed.
Absolutely.
And nobody's going to sleep on the street that, really doesn't want to be on the street. I think that's important, because people think, some of our community thinks that, this person wants a bed, but we don't have no beds. No, we do have a bed for them, and we have a place we'll put them one way or the other.
Yeah,
and I think it's really good. Also, I didn't realize this, but chat does give food out to people that are hungry. So
Yes.
I think that's something, when we do some, our public information that goes out on our social media, so we need to let people know that chat not only helps them get help, but if they need food, chat has food, they have water, able to help them. And that might help people to understand that when you go out and want to give food to a homeless person or money or whatever, you're enabling them. We have a process here in the City of Modesto and services that really take care of our homeless and stuff. That's great.
Yep.
Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, very much.
Good morning. Following up on 2 items for the Engineering Services Department. The first one from Chair Escudia-Brayton, the amount of revenue from cell towers at the various locations in Modesto. So currently we have 22 cell tower leases across several facilities, approximately $520,000 in revenue, and the funds in essence go back to the fund where that tower is located. So we have a couple at Creekside, there's in the golf courses, you have the park, there's several at parks planning, TRIP, community development, and then utilities.
Very good.
And then the second question follow-up was, what is the Park Partners Program? So in essence, a similar program to Awesome Spot is kind of one of the examples, but in essence, it's an opportunity to partner with the community on those community-initiated projects. So I listed the website there. We do have, on our city website, the location where the information can be found. Examples of this where we have like the Rotary Department Rotary group who wants to do some kind of community service where they want to put something in the park. So this is a program to assist them on how to go about that process, reviewing of what they want to install, make sure it's appropriate for that location, and it can also involve funding. So that's the program.
Thank you.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Question was, why do we apply slurry seal versus chip seal? So we want to provide you some additional information on slurry seal and chip seals. Both of these are good treatments for our surface. So difference between slurry seal is that the slurry seal is more fine material, so it's desired for residential areas where there's less noise required, because what happens is the fine material plus it's mixed with the asphalt as it's applied. On the other hand, the chip seal, it is coarse aggregate, a little bigger aggregates. So it's applied, asphalt is applied first, then the aggregates are rolled into it. So they are more preferred for county roads where more skid or resistance or friction is required. That's where they are preferred. So the county uses them frequently, not within the residential areas, because residential areas you want less noise as the vehicles drive over. And the chips, once they're applied for a few weeks, it will cause a lot of mess also, because they're applied over the asphalt. So that is some of that criteria, and also their life expectancy is similar. And the cost-wise, just an example, for our slurry, city slurry is about 13 to 15 cents per square foot. And the chip seal, we got some numbers from county, or somewhere around 23 to 25. cents, 25 cents per square foot. So the chip seals are more, they're expensive, and when you drive over, it will produce noise because the aggregates are bigger.
Thank you. Thank you.
And just the second question was from Councilmember Williams on the parking garages, capacity of parking garages. So we have 3 garages. 9th Street has 777 spaces, including ADA. 11th Street has 339, including ADA, and 10th Street has 727, so total 1,843 spaces in our parking garages. That includes ADA.
And can I speak? And was there what was the volume?
Sure. The second part of the question was the capacity, are they full or vacant? So 11th Street garage, which is over there on that side, is often full. A regular basis is full. And the 10th Street garage generally gets to at capacity. So for parking garages, it's desirable that they only get to 80% full. So that when the people are driving in, they're able to find the parking and they come back. So it does get to that level quite a bit. It's also heavily used by employees, city and county employees. On the other hand, 9th Street garage, we have agreement with the DoubleTree. It does not, it's pretty much underutilized, so a lot of customer base is from DoubleTree for now.
Thank you.
Christina?
Good morning. So the question that I'm coming back to answer is for Councilmember Wright, and he asked what percentages of interest did we earn on our pension funds. So what I've brought back to you is basically kind of how our funds are broke down. So we do have some sub-accounts within our accounts based off of where the money came from or where it is coming from. And so we do have some sub-accounts going on in there, but that's just for tracking purposes. But you can see here for each sub-account which strategic blend we are identified with for the interest. And the chart below gives you, generally, what that return is for those specific funds that we've identified as those interest funds we want. Also, just as a note of interest, the total amount of interest that we've earned to date since inception is about $550,000.
That's for the year?
That is for since inception, so that would be since January of 2022.
Great. Great returns.
Did you say to date?
It would be, since inception to date. Yeah, so from January of 22 till present time, based off our most current report.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
2 questions. From the chair, can we validate the community centers have access to free city internet Wi-Fi? So currently, here's where we are. We have the locations listed at the top already live and running. We have to expand the free Wi-Fi to the 4 locations at the bottom. The game plan is to have that in place by end of summer. We had a bit of a hiccup as I transitioned in and taking reins, and then we had some gaps in IT leadership infrastructure-wise. So now that's been addressed, so this is the game plan at this point in time.
Wonderful. Looking forward to it.
And then to the mayor, does public safety have access to the GIS system, and is it in their vehicles? And the answer is yes, to both PD and fire. Actually, they use their MDCs, which is their mobile PCs for the police department, in order to see the GIS images. And then for fire department, they use their iPads. And when it comes to generating these images or these diagrams, we first start with fire department and then PD. Now, when one receives it, they put a layer on top of it. So transparent, a layer on top of it for critical information that they may need. So when they access it, they know what they need to do. So that's everything in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Questions? Okay.
No, thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Good morning. So the question that Finance had came from Mayor Zwollen about can you provide the breakdown of bill payers that pay electronically, paper, or in person? So I just provided just a percentage overall, and this is based on the last fiscal year, 23-24. So about 4% of our customers come to the lobby, pay in person, 23% remit their payments via mail, more than half, 53%, pay online, and then we have about 20% that pay via phone.
Interesting.
By phone? What do you mean by phone?
There's a number that you can call regarding our customer service line where you can actually put your credit card information through phone to get your payment processed.
Thank you.
Good morning. So this is the information I mentioned verbally, and the slide was missing from a presentation yesterday regarding the compost fee increase. The council approved the resolution that compost fees can go up by CPI. So using February CPI, we're proposing 2.6% increase in compost fees. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes the report back items from questions that were asked and then we didn't have the information. Now we will go on, if it's okay with the chair of the Finance Committee, to the recap of the workshops and final recommendations. Okay, so recapping the workshops, and then we'll go on to the recommendations. Steve Christensen, OPMB Director. So again, we went over throughout the departments, looking at all of the funds within the total budget. This total operating budget represents a total fund of $626.7 million between all funds, general fund, the enterprise funds, Measure H. In there, the general fund budget, we're looking at a total operating expense budget of $199.8 million. That's balanced by our revenues. Kind of looking through there, you see our taxes, which are made up of sales tax, property tax, utility user tax, those items that we went over. Again, main area of concern there being sales tax, something that we're closely monitoring as we see the dip in there really caused by the state of the economy right now and inflation. You have the fees revenues, mainly the main source of that is really the franchise fees and construction revenues, all the departmental revenues, transfers into the general fund. And then we have the additional revenue from Measure H. So part of that, we have the balance of the balancing of the budget with the Measure H funds coming in. There's an increase in that amount from the prior year of about $3.5 million, going up to that $11.6 million. And then we have the supplement of the lost ARPA funding coming in from Measure H as well for that $2 million. So that gets us to our $199.8 million in total revenues to offset the department side of expenses. On the expense side, I do want to call out that we have some recommended adjustments. That $250,000 is what we were doing in the city auditor's department, where we were eliminating 2 of those positions in there because we have the external or the contract services for the auditor. We have the movement of the programs to Measure H that were discussed really in the police department presentation. So moving over things like the air support, the area command, alternative response unit into Measure H. We have the return of the reserves from the EBF, ISF fund, the workers' comp 9% rate discount that's included as part of this budget, and then the variance rate at 9%, and then our transfers out as well. So it gets us to our total expense budget. These are those proposed non-Measure H adjustments. So there are some additional funding going into the CED, Community Economic Development Department, for that Economic Development Strategy Plan. That's $50,000. And then we have some non-general fund adjustments as well in the various departments for some additional positions. For the Measure H spending plan, so again, with this, we have about $13.6 million in the proposed spending plan for the new year. This is made up of the breakdown towards the bottom there of $10.9 million in one time, and then ongoing of 2.7, which will show that breakdown on the next slide. And then we also have the money coming over into the general fund to balance that general fund budget noted there as well, the $11.6 million and the $2 million. So here's the breakdown of that spending plan. Items were gone through in the different department presentations. We have the funding for the deferred maintenance plans and preventative maintenance plans, the $500,000 each. And then we have the Chavez Park renovations, the Martin Luther King project, and then we have the balancing of the general fund, which was the movement of those operations over from PD, and then the PD staffing plan there at the bottom as well. We went over special presentations. So we went the equipment maintenance agreements, software maintenance agreements, which those will have actions for the finance committee to make motions on if they choose to. We went over the proposed fee increases for 25-26. We provided the grant status updates. We did the deferred maintenance updates for what's been done and any outstanding areas of improvement that are needed. And we also did the sponsorship presentation as well, and the update on the ARPA spending. So that leaves us at staff recommendations, but before that, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the committee or the council members as well.
Any questions from the committee or council? Seeing none, please move forward.
Okay, so before you, you have three recommendations. The first one is a motion to accept and forward on to council for final review and adoption of the draft proposed fiscal year 25-26 operating and multi-year budget for the City of Modesto. And then we have the motion approving the payment of various equipment maintenance agreements for fiscal year 25-26 with multiple equipment manufacturers for all city departments for the annual cost not to exceed $888,358 and forwarding to council for approval. And then the motion approving payment of various software hardware maintenance agreements for fiscal year 25-26 with multiple vendors for all city departments for annual costs not to exceed $10,902,807 and forwarding to council for approval. Diane can have that job always.
Thank you, Steve, for reciting the staff recommendations. If we could please leave that slide up, I would appreciate that. So as indicated by Steve, moving forward, the committee will take action on 3 action items, meaning the committee will entertain a motion on on each of the new business action items. At the conclusion of entertaining a motion on those 3 items, that'll conclude our business at hand. Everyone will have an opportunity to provide final comments. Okay, and we'll wrap up the day with Joe.
Question.
Yes.
Point of order, can all 3 motions be made at one time? Or
No, we're going to take each at a time.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Okay, that being said, we will begin with. Is there any question?
No questions.
Okay.
We're talking back and forth.
Okay. All right, beginning with action item number 1 under new business. Consider accepting and forwarding on to council for final review and adoption the draft proposal fiscal year 2025-2026 operating and multi-year budget for the City of Modesto.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, before we do that, I would like to extend it to open session, just by chance, if there's anyone from the public that is here. I don't see any, so I will close public comment and bring it back to the committee for that motion. Having heard a motion by Councilmember Wright, seconded by Vice Mayor, but
It's the opposite.
It's okay.
Bavaro. City Clerk, if you could please call the roll call.
Committee Member Bavaro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Wright,
Aye.
and Chair Gutierrez.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you very much. Number 2, consider approving payment of various equipment maintenance agreements for fiscal year 2025-26 with multiple equipment manufacturers for all city departments for an annual cost not to exceed $888,358 and forwarding to council for approval. Is there any questions from committee? No. Okay, I will take it to the public. Any members of the public wishing to ask any questions or make a comment? Seeing none, close, bring it back to the committee for entertainment of a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. If you could please call the roll.
Committee Member Bavaro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Wright.
Aye.
And Chair Gutierrez.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving forward to the third and final recommendation. Consider approving payment of various software, hardware maintenance agreements for fiscal year 2025-26 with multiple vendors for all city departments for an annual cost not to exceed $10,902,807 and forwarding to council for approval. Any questions? Move it forward to the public. If there's any, seeing none, close public comment, bring it back to the committee for a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. If you could call the roll.
Committee Member Bavaro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Wright.
Aye.
And Chair Gutierrez.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Again, this concludes the official 2025 Financial Committee and Council Workshop.
I'd be remiss if I did not thank all the staff and my budget division staff for all the hard work they put in this budget, and then the deputy city managers and the city manager for their leadership in this process. And definitely to all of the committee members and the council for being here throughout the workshops, and again, the attentiveness and the great questions that you asked throughout this entire process. So thank you again for all of your
No,
hard work.
absolutely. And I wasn't going to not allow you to close out. Thank you for, this past 3 days has just been an immense amount of work by an immense amount of people, and it obviously has gone, so noted, a lot of people put a lot of effort into making this happen. And thank you for just your hard work and your dedication by you and your team and everyone that worked so diligently to get us to this point. Do any committee members or council wish to provide any final thoughts? Mayor?
I'll just make a comment that I've witnessed firsthand the work that has gone into this, the multiple meetings, Stephen going back and forth down the hall. So, and Casey, I know you've played a huge role in this also. So thank you to everyone. This is a lot of information, and you presented it, I believe, in the most concise way that can be presented, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager Lopez.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity, and thank you to all of the city staff and all that worked underneath you, Stephen, and very conscientious of our community, our citizens, very frugal, the best possible way you could have been so that we can further our existence in our communities through your budget process. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to also extend my appreciation to Steve and Casey, the entire budget staff, as well as the countless other staff members in the departments that have provided the budget here today. Again, this was our best attempt to balance the budget in a very uncertain climate. Obviously, as things change, we will make amendments as necessary and bring forward various programs and initiatives as necessary. So for the remaining process on May 6th, we will hear the mayor's final budget message. May 13th will be the combining of the mayor's budget message with this proposed budget to become the draft budget. And then on June 3rd will be final adoption of the fiscal year 25-26 budget. I would like to thank Rosa, our committee chair, Rosa Escudia Brayton, for her diligence over this time. She conducted the meeting extremely well and did a great job of keeping us moving.
Thank you.
As well as the remaining committee members and council members in attendance. Great questions were asked, and we're appreciative of the collaborative process to develop the budget to serve the citizens and businesses of Modesto. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for attending. Meeting now adjourned.
You did a great job, kiddo.